Hello, welcome to our video review of Gorn, a game that was originally early access in 2017, so over 2 years ago, and was actually released into full 1.0 full release last week, 18th of July 2019 on Steam. And I believe it's also going to be coming to PSVR later this year as well. It's £14.99 or $20, and it's developed by a company called Free Lives. So let's pass it over to Wes as usual. Wes, what has gone? Tell me what is this game?
Well, essentially, this game, I would call it a violence sandbox, or maybe a blood box, or a hand box.
Mhm.
It's just basically mindless violence. You've got these big dopey, uh, you know, enemies coming at you that are very easy to kill, but they're coming at you in mass numbers more and more as you go on. And the whole concept of the game is to spill blood and yeah, it's gore. It's just pure gore, and that's why it's called Gorn. But if I had to put a genre on it, I would call it a violence sandbox.
Yeah, I mean it's got a sandbox. Obviously, you can go in as a big sandbox, endless like wave brawler, I guess you could say, or you can do custom matches where you choose weapons and select different enemy types and stuff. But there is actually a kind of a career mode sort of where they've got levels. So you've got these floors, 3 levels in each floor. There's 9 levels total, and as you go through, they progressively get harder and harder, and you work your way through. Um, well, let's start off with the graphics. Roots. Obviously, this game looks very cartoony from the 2D game when you're watching the screen. But how does it look when you're actually in VR?
It still looks cartoony to some extent, but it's done very well. The 3D, I mean, the immersion level, there's no uh, lack of it, the lack of immersion because of the graphics. I would put it as probably above average as far as getting the job done. Doesn't look gorgeous, but it looks good. But the 3D is very good, and like you were saying, from looking at the flat screen, it just doesn't do it justice. Like even Wes was looking at it and thinking, yeah, it looks okay. You get in there and it's like, wow, this is really cool. So I think the graphics were done very well for making it basic, but still really good.
Yeah, they're kind of basic. I mean, they're very cartoony. Um, they've got nice, it's got nice lighting, and the game does look a lot better when you're in the headset. But it is still obviously it's not. It's just, this is a game that's not meant to be taken seriously. It's you can tell by just by the enemy types and the way they move and everything. It's all kind of just tongue in cheek. Just you just got to bludgeon these guys to death basically. So let's talk about the main aspect of the game then, which is obviously the gameplay. Um, Wes, you played this first time recently, actually. So your first experience is the full release. In fact, you played it is it this morning. I think you were you were ripping people's heads off. So I'll let you talk first. What did you think? I know you said you enjoyed it more than you were expecting. So how did you feel uh, beating the shit out of these cartoon characters?
Yeah, it was kind of an odd thing because, uh, you can tell what this game is from watching any kind of footage of it. And, I watched it, just like everyone else. I've seen this game for a long time now, and it never really appealed to me. It didn't look like it would be all that fun. And I got into the game, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, only I was smiling pretty much the whole time I was doing it. I really enjoyed it. Uh, I don't know. There was just something that's great about downing your opponent and then bashing his head in like Negan did Glenn and Abraham uh, on The Walking Dead. And yeah, I was really surprised at how fun it was to take these cartoony uh, idiots apart. And I had to make myself stop playing it this morning so I could get a little bit of sleep before we did this. But I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Um, I agree. It is fun. I did have fun with this game. It's not. There is something very basic about just beating people to death. That kind of speaks to our inner primal roots. You know, we do come from cavemen descent, and you know we like to beat the shit out of people. So, it's not a boring game in terms of. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably the most negative person on this game, so I'm going to pass it over to Roots first. Talk to me a bit about the diversity in the levels, the enemies, and the weapons.
There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of diversity. I What I like about this game the most is, diversity wise, is the weapons though. Like, it's every single time you start a new one, you've got a different type of weapon, and you've said before you can pick up. You know, you got to start with the one weapon, and you can pick up a different one. But I try to go with what they have. I don't care if I can pick something up or not. And so there, I just really enjoy that aspect of it, and then of course all the different types of enemies, even just the different type of armor, or like with the Achilles, where you got to kill them, or you got the that crab boss, several different types of bosses. I think they did a really good job of. Even though this game is very similar, and like you've said before, Alex, they all come at you kind of the same way, but there's so much variance of what they're wearing, what weapon they're carrying. Some of those weapons they're swinging, and they're, even though you time it to where you jump out of the way and you go back in, it's still coming back around and will end up getting you. Or my favorite is getting close to an enemy and watching, making them hit each other. And so that I kind of got a good kick out of that. But no, I think for being very basic as far as the skin models of the enemies being similar, they really did a good job of switching things up with everything else.
Yeah, and with the what you're saying there about making the enemies kill each other, this isn't just mindless fighting. There is some strategy involved with it. When you get into the larger waves of guys coming at you, you need a shield. Well, it's very helpful to have a shield to stay alive, but you don't start with one, so you have to kill someone to get one. So you start the level out by basically finding the guy whose shield you're going to take, then finding the guy whose weapon you're going to take, and then it's a useful tactic when you have nothing to have these guys kill one another, especially toward the start of the level. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, that you did have to put some thought into it. That said, I did start when I played this game on hard from the beginning, so you may not have to strategize too much of it with it on the normal difficulty setting, but definitely some thought was needed into making your way through these levels.
Yeah, you start on hard. You start on normal. I did on normal, and I found it way too easy. It's like basically the way that the difficulty seems to work is it's just a slider. The higher the difficulty, the faster they come at you, the faster they swing at you. But the enemies all kind of just come straight at you. They don't try and block or dodge or anything like that. They'll basically just come straight at you, and they'll just swing their arms around until you kill them. So the difficulty comes, like Wes has already said, in the numbers. So it's down to, if you put it on hard, because they move so much faster, they come at you, and they're pretty much all around you pretty quickly. So you haven't really got time to pick them off one by one. You've got to maybe have a shield, defend yourself, and try and pick them out. And you have got to think about it. And when I changed it to hard, it definitely made the game a lot more fun for me, because it was so easy. I mean, so easy. Even the boss fights, they've got these boss fights at the end of each level. So the levels are structured where you go into the level, they give you a weapon, you raise the weapon, and then you start fighting. You don't have to keep the weapon, but I like Roots. I tried to keep the weapon if I could, although some of them, like the dagger one, I don't know if you guys had problems with that. You know, these little daggers on your wrist, and I could not throw them for.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
They just kept dropping to the floor, and I just ended up picking another weapon up. But there's some weapons, like there's like a shield that's got spikes on that you can throw, and again, that was the same thing. It just, every time I tried to throw it, it would just drop to the floor. So I ended up just changing to a different weapon. But there's some weapons that are obviously more powerful than the others. Like later on, you get these big hammers, and you can literally knock them flying, and it's just so easy to kill them. that it's almost even on hard, it's just not really that much of a challenge. But I'd say the last 2 or 3 levels do get really hard, where they start throwing loads of guys at you. But they've got these pits with spikes underneath them, and what I ended up doing was just standing on the edge of the bridge, and they'd literally just the guys would come out and they'd literally come and walking straight towards me, and they'd just walk into the pit and kill themselves. So it's like these guys are so freaking dumb. You can just literally just all you got to do is just get yourself in line of sight, and they will just drop off and kill themselves. But there were some frustrating bits for me as well. Like later on, you get these crab claws, and I hated that because you couldn't pick anything up with them because your hands were like crab claws, so you're forced to use them, and your only way to kill is to like grab people and like rip their heads off and stuff. And I couldn't get them to work right, and I kept getting clipped like while he's flailing around. He kept clipping me, and then I'd die. And that I nearly rage quit on that because I was so freaking pissed off with just dying all the time, just from the way that these weapons worked. But overall, the weapons are fun. There is a lot of different weapons, although I don't know. I mean, there's not that much diversity. Like you've got an axe, you've got a different sword. You're going to use them in the same way, kind of. But there are obviously like big hammers. You've got like a saber sword which you can stab and at least to take the heart out and stuff. So there is some diversity in the way you play, and you can mess about and goof around with this game and do some crazy stuff. Overall, I did enjoy it. I think it was kind of, for me, it was kind of like 15, 20 minutes at a time, and I was done with it. So I'll pass it over to you guys to like give our conclusions. Roots, what do you think? I mean, it's a recommend from me because it's only £15, and I did have fun with it. I got about 3.5 hours out of the levels, so I think it's worth the money. What do you think, Roots?
I agree. I mean, I'd rather get it on a sale, but that's how I always want to get it on a sale if I can. But it's definitely worth it. And like you were saying earlier, it's got what, 10 out of 10 on Steam. And as far as reviews, and Alex nailed it. He's like, it is not a 10 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10. It's like a 7 out of 10. It's fun. It's definitely worth playing through for sure. And one thing we didn't touch about, this is like the first game before that sorcery game, whatever, the swords and sorcery, blade and sorcery. Yeah. As far as hitting things, your weapons, like I was running my weapons back and forth across those spikes that come up in the middle, and you ching, like, so the hit detection or whatever it is it's just done very well. But I definitely think it's worth playing. Now, one question for you, you guys didn't try it on Nightmare, correct?
No.
Yeah, I would recommend everybody try, because do you think hard is hard? Nightmare I died. I think I got 2 or 3 things in, and then I had to switch back because it was insane, crazy. But anyway, Wes, I guess we'll pass it to you here and see what you think.
Yeah, I think that it was a fun game. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Now that said, it does suffer from the same issues that you have from most melee games, and it does suffer from the same issues that you have for most wave-based games. But that said, it's a lot of fun to do, and it may get old after a while, but I think as long as you take this game in shorter sessions, that there's a lot of replayability here, and yeah, it's very good. It's not great, but it is very good. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend from me as well.
Yep. Okay. So it's good. It's a good recommend. I do recommend the game. I'm not completely shitting on the game. I just think it's very basic. It's kind of basic for me, to the point where, like I said, I just found myself getting bored. Even on hard, it was just kind of. There's only so many times I can keep ripping guys' arms off and legs off, and before I start to get a bit bored of it. But it is fun, and you do have fun in the game. And I think majority of people probably disagree with me and think it's a really, really good game. So definitely recommend from us. Pick it up if you haven't already got it. It's you're going to have some fun in it, and if you want to break your TV, then this is one of the good games for that as well. So
yeah, I was really scared at the beginning of it when you go through the tutorial thing. They don't give you access to the movement options until after you do the tutorial. And when I was in that thing, I was like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to play this. I don't have enough room. I'm going to break something. Because it defaults to like sprint vector style
Yeah.
movement. And it gets intense, the battle does sometimes. So thank goodness there are movement options in there, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to play it at all.
Yeah, there are a lot of options actually for movement and stuff. So you can customize it to how you want. I just use straight up stick locomotion, but I actually used head orientated because the problem is if you use locomotion controller orientated movement as you're swinging your weapons around, if you try and move around, obviously you end up moving around all over the place. But
That's exactly what happened to me. I was like, what the fuck is going on, man? It's like, I got to switch this because this is not happening.
yeah, so I'd recommend going with the head orientated on this one so that you can walk forwards while you're swinging wildly at them without moving around all over the place like a weird thing. But so yeah, okay, we recommend it. Pick it up. Whether you want to pick it up on a sale or whether you want to pick it up full price, it does come on sale quite a bit. It's an older game, so if you want to wait for another sale, I won't blame you. So, and that'll do. That's another review from Virtual Strangers. If you enjoyed this review, then hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. If you agree or disagree with us, then let us know in the comments. And also check out our Discord. And that's it.
Yeah.
We'll speak to everyone later.
See you later.